Good morning, guys and gals. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning. We said we were going to leave at 4, and I was pretty sure we weren't going to do it, so. Alright, so. There we are. Dog Island. It's an absolutely beautiful morning. I am warming up the workhorse. Topped off the tank. I'll come out here and show you. Right over there, you'll see that little light over there. That's somebody. Over there, that's somebody. Probably everybody's coming to life right now. I see some mast lights over there, so I think the people that said they were going to leave at 4, like me, are leaving at 5. Maybe even 6, who knows. I'll come out in the front here. You're just going to see a bunch of dark. Oh, I hear a motor running. Okay. Well, we're going to sneak out of here in the dark, guys. Why not? Let's do it. There's the brothers, Dan and John. See you guys in Steinhatchee. Into the dark void. You don't realize how long it takes for the sun to come up normally because, well, usually we're sleeping. But we've been out here what feels like, I don't know, an hour or more. And you probably can't see it, but I'm just barely seeing the sunrise. The clouds are splitting. And it just feels like it's taken a while. I want to be able to see. I can see enough, but it'd be nice when the sun comes up. Okay, guys, you should be able to see just the beginnings of the sunrise. It's about 6:30. I brought my stool out and I'm just sitting down. I hardly ever sit. And we're just trying to keep the bearing as close to heading towards Steinhatchee as possible. And the sun's coming up. I just got a text from the brothers, Dan and John. They said, "We're behind you." So I came back here and took a look. And see him? The phone's still working. We'll see how long that lasts. When in the summers, I would say we go to Isle Royale, but they don't allow dogs over there. So when I go over to Isle Royale and Wavey gets left with somebody, we sometimes when we go from Ontonagon to Siskiwit Bay, it's an 80-mile open water crossing, so it's actually longer than this one. And I always have to plan ahead. How am I going to distract myself and entertain myself when the phone stops working? And I don't have an option at this time, and I finished my book even, so eventually it's going to stop, and I'll probably just start talking to you guys a lot. So look on the backup channel. I think I spotted Gary out there. Going right into the sunrise. It's nice to know we're not alone out here. Did you decide to get up? Lazy? There's that Sea Dory 23 that we saw yesterday. be there in a couple hours. Okay, checking in about 8 in the morning. And the sun is up, obviously. And I said we got 1 footers, 1 to 2 footers, no big deal. We're averaging about 5 miles an hour. Right on course. Okay, guys, I'm gonna try in a minute or two to explain what I think the difference is, why open water crossings always seem to be way on people's minds more than, you know, other parts of the loop, you know, protected waters, rivers, and things like that. You know, obviously, if something goes wrong out here, you're farther away from help. You know, you're farther away from land. So that's a concern. That's a legitimate concern. If it gets dark, if you're, you know, like today, that's the reason why we left before dark, is that I don't want to be stuck navigating into the channel for Steinhatchee after dark. You know, I'd rather leave in the dark. We keep hearing about the crab pots everywhere. I haven't seen any crab pots, but I've heard that there is more on the other side when we get closer to Steinhatchee. And you certainly wouldn't want to run one of those over if you can help it. And you can obviously see them better when it's daylight, right? So that's that's legitimate. But overall, I guess another thing I would say is that, like, if a storm came up, you know, you would be more exposed out here. You would have a farther distance, or not even the option to run to some behind something, or, you know, up a river or behind an island or something. So another, I guess, difference, legitimate concern about crossing big open water. But at the end of the day, it's really not a big deal. If your boat is capable, if your motor runs well, if you're not having any troubles, and the weather forecast is predicting good conditions for the length of the transit, then you just kind of set your course and you just do it. I guess this is my way of trying to lend a little confidence, you know, to folks that might be intimidated by open water crossings on the Great Loop, because there are a few that you just cannot avoid. You know, there's Mobile Bay, there's the Gulf here, and there is some on the East Coast, which you'll see us do eventually. So, and if this boat can do it, I mean, this barge, flat bottom boats are much more capable than people think. And I knew that going into this. But yeah, they're just slower, a little bit rougher ride. That's about it. Totally capable. So if you got a shanty boat or a houseboat or a pontoon boat or something like that, and people have told you that they're not safe offshore, I mean, well, the safety thing, that's a whole other subject. Maybe I'll try to bring up sometime, but it certainly gets in the way of a lot of people doing things. I'm not saying be stupid. I'm not saying being unsafe. I'm just saying calculated risks, and you'll make it happen. So hopefully that made some sense. It's getting a little rough out here. Thought I'd turn the camera on for a minute and show you. Not a big deal. We're just having to plow into some waves. They're probably up to 3 or 4 footers now. Just making for a rough ride. Here's one right here. Boom. 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 We'll make it. We've been through this before. Here's one of the folks that were staging with us off of Dog Island last night. I didn't get to meet them. Actually, there's 2 of them there, following each other. That's the more comfortable way to do it. Get yourself a big trawler. Just plow through it. Here's another one of them that were staging with us last night. Making good time. It makes sense that they joined up with them. Are the fishing poles falling on you, you poor beagle? Okay, it's about 10 a.m., 9:45, little update. So it's kind of rough out here, but it's just a rough ride. It's not like dangerous. Slowing us down a little bit, and I was doing some math in my head and looking at the mileage here, and it looks like we're going to be pulling into Steinhatchee at like 7 p.m., which is about when you're losing the last bit of light right now, this time of year. So, but hey, as long as we get there, as long as we drop anchor and we're not hitting any crap pots and we make it, doesn't matter. I do this right up to the last minute. I think we're gonna make it. There's been a few days on this trip where that's happened, where we're just kind of running right up to the edge, so to get to some place. But okay, well, just stay tuned. I know this is probably not very exciting. I'm kind of thinking ahead. I'm like, how is this video gonna look? It's just a bunch of crossing open water. But I'll figure out how to spice it up somehow. Maybe the beagle will try to mutiny again. Stay tuned, guys. The brothers from Kentucky, Dan and John. Let me see if I can show you. They hung with us. They hung back. They can do. They're not slow. They can get there quick. But they hung back for a while, which is really nice. Thank you, guys. Watch this later. Thank you. We'll be fine. We'll see you in Steinhatchee. Okay, I thought of something I could share with you guys while we're beating our way across the Gulf. Let me turn the phone around. So if you're thinking about whether a shanty boat, houseboat is a possibility for a boat that you would choose to do the Great Loop, you should try to ask yourself, can you handle the occasional? It's not very often, but occasionally you're going to find yourself, you know, like crossing the Gulf, some of those big bays, Pensacola, Panama City, and then of course the East Coast, which we're going to do together. We're going to find out together. And you're going to have to beat yourself up once in a while. The boat's going to, these flat bottom boats they don't like to cut through the chop. They ride right over the top. Actually, it's kind of mild at the moment. We've kind of gotten through the worst of it at the moment, but you know, we're beating into the wind, we're beating into the chop. And you know, if you got a bad back, if you got bad knees, if you just get annoyed easily, if you have this feeling or attitude like I deserve better than this, then I would say just, you know, get yourself a different boat and spend more money and spend more fuel and something that can handle this kind of weather better, you know. But if you're like me and you can kind of like pay your dues, so to speak, you know, by just putting up with something for a day or two here and there in order to have the benefits on the other side, like drafting less than a foot and having, you know, a boat that's cheaper to build, cheaper to buy, even though trailable houseboats are actually getting expensive and kind of hard to find. I've got a couple friends who want to come out here and join us, and we've been looking and we just can't find any. Past 2 or 3 years they've kind of been snatched off the market or doubled in price, but that's another whole video or rant. But anyways, yeah, guys, you can see, you know, we're just kind of beating our way against the wind and beating. Right now at the moment it's probably like 2 footers. 2 to 3 footers, not a big deal. The barge can handle that fine, but I'm having to stand here and do a lot of corrective steering and just, you know, tied to the wheel. Whereas you guys might have just seen a minute or two ago, we had some fellow loopers that were staging with us on Dog Island, and they were, you know, they're in trawlers and they can just run up the RPMs, and they've got a big V hull and they just cutting through this stuff like nothing. They're probably not even feeling it, probably not even spilling their coffee or spilling their drinks, depending on whether it's before noon or after. So okay, guys, hope that was helpful, hope that made sense. Let's get back to it. I'm going to add to that rant here that more than likely you're going to be going slower than everybody else. We are for this entire trip, and I knew that. You know, we were going to be doing 4, 5, 6 miles an hour, and therefore it's going to be hard to pair up and partner up and buddy boat up with other people. The brothers, for example, you know, from Kentucky, they were hanging back. They were probably just idling along, kind of watching us, which very appreciative, you know, but you don't want to hold anybody back. And if you happen to come across someone who's traveling extra slow like you, that's great. That's rare. We've had it happen a couple times on this trip so far, but generally speaking, it's gonna also make it so you're kind of doing it all by yourself, you know, and that you have to ask yourself that question too. You know, are you okay with that? That works fine for me. I don't mind. I don't want to hold anybody back, and I don't want to go faster than I want to go to try to keep up with somebody. I just kind of set my own pace, and I know that, so I just plan for being very self-sufficient as much as possible, and not relying on others around us, you know. So yeah, that's another consideration to make when you're deciding whether a houseboat / shanty boat might be a boat that you would choose to try to do the Great Loop. You deserve a treat. Sit, stay, stay. Okay, go ahead. We gotta pay attention to driving here. Crossing the Gulf. Oh, my little workhorse. I love ya. Welcome to cooking on a shanty boat while crossing the Gulf in chop. Chicken with raisins. I even cut up some onion, fresh onion. Now I'm gonna dig out some bread. I decided to go with the tortilla. There was about an hour there where it got kind of rough, and then we must be behind the fetch. I just learned that word recently, wind fetch, or wind shadow, I would call it, of the mainland, which is still up that way. Steinhatchee, right up that way. We're about 40 miles away. And it's turned into a beautiful day. We got the Beagle pre-wash. Stay, sit, stay. Okay, go. Here's an example of how, if you're going to be in a boat that's going slower than most people, you're going to end up often being by yourself. And this would be about, we're about halfway through, across, I should say. And I'm looking, and I'm not seeing any land. We can't see the mainland of Florida yet, and of course that way is down into the Gulf and all the way to the Caribbean, or no, actually, what would that be? Into Mexico. We're basically in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm actually trying to be careful here. I don't want to fall off the boat. I'm looking back this way, not seeing any land. So, and way off in the horizon, I can see that big blue trawler that passed us. I won't be able to zoom in and show you guys, but I can just barely see him on the horizon. So, here, let me turn the phone on. Just to continue to try to be useful for you guys that might be watching our channel and deciding whether a houseboat or a shanty boat might be an option for you. I'm just trying to think of these things that might put you just in a different kind of subcategory of looper and a boat. And you're going to be going, unless you have a very strange kind of hybrid houseboat. I know there's a few out there that can go trawler speeds or beyond. You're going to be going slower than everybody else. And you're inevitably going to end up being by yourself a lot of the time, because people are going to be going ahead of you or passing you. So keep that in mind. Do you like to be by yourself out here? You like to kind of move with a group, or Now, we left really late in the season, and not only that, we left way up in Minneapolis, more or less in the top of the Mississippi, and that put us in a totally different what would you call it, like zone compared to the other loopers. On this trip, we have talked to people that are like, yeah, like a month, they were a month ahead of us or more, 6 weeks ahead of us, and they were passing through the lock and dams on the Mississippi with like 5, 6, 7, 8 other boats. Sometimes they had to wait for all the boats to kind of catch up because the the lock masters wanted to wait, you know, just to fill the chamber one time to pass them all through. Whereas you guys have seen by now, watching our videos, if you're watching in chronological order, you know, I'm trying to think here. I think we've only passed through a lock and dam with one other looper. And actually, it's been twice. One time, I think it was around Alton, we passed through a lock and dam with one other boat. And then the houseboat couple, I call them, like the big houseboat couple is what I call them. The ones from Wisconsin, you probably have seen in past episodes a couple times from a distance with the big houseboat. We passed through with them once or twice, I can't remember. But other than that, we have been passing through all the lock and dams by ourselves. And that has everything to do with the fact that we started late compared to most loopers, and we're going slow. We're going slower than everybody else. So I mention all that just so you guys can kind of, some of this stuff, you know, it's really self-evident once it occurs to you, but you kind of gotta like be out here to let it sink in that the pace you're going is going to make a big difference on a lot of aspects of your trip. So the speed you're going is going to be one of them. So, you know, I could open it up right now. I could rev it up to 5,800 RPMs and probably plow our way into 8 or 9 miles an hour and burn 3 times the gas. This boat, the Beagle Barge, when it's not loaded up, here, let me turn the phone around. When I don't have that scooter on the front, and when I don't have another, let's just call it 500 pounds or more of just actually stuff that I wish I wouldn't have brought. I brought way too much stuff on this trip that I've actually given away like a bunch of stuff. I've been meeting people that, like, you know, back in White City, I met this really nice, good old boy, and I could tell he was, you know, just, you know, young guy trying to make it. His girlfriend was pregnant and probably did not have much money, and I ended up giving a bunch of stuff, a bunch of DVDs and a bunch of little propane bottles, you know, those little 1-pounders that, you know, and that probably lightened up the boat by, you know, 20 pounds or something. So I'm slowly trying to get rid of stuff. But that said, you know, I decided to bring a 220-pound scooter. If I didn't have that on here and a couple other things on board, I have seen this boat actually on Lake Superior in the summer, you know, get up to 12 miles an hour, which is pretty impressive for a little 60-horse 4-stroke on a boat this big. So, but the way it is now, so loaded up and so kind of front heavy, I really, if I open it up, wide open throttle, I think I've gotten it up to maybe 8 or 9 miles an hour, which is just not worth it. It likes to cruise it. Right now we're doing actually about over 5.5 miles an hour, which is awesome. And that's more than we need to get where we're going before dark. So here, let me turn the phone around one more time. This Gulf crossing is a perfect example of how, you know, it starts to become this time and distance calculation, right? Like when we were back in Carabel, I was kind of had this in my mind. I'm like, well, if I leave at 4 in the morning and I do 5 miles an hour and it's 77 miles across, I will get there by such and such a time. That's only if I don't have to slow down for chop and things like that. Now, it just opened up out here, and we're fine. We're almost at 6 miles an hour right now, and I'm probably doing 3,000 RPMs. So fantastic. But I didn't know that for sure. You know, you never really know what you're going to see until you get out here. But yeah, those are considerations. You know, when people talk about like a sea dory, I always come back to a sea dory. I'm a big fan of the sea dories. I've had many, and they're one of those boats, one of the few boats out there that you can just putt along if you want. I remember used to just doing trawler speed in my sea dories all the time, 7 miles an hour, just putting around, saving fuel, you know. But if you ever need to, just dump that throttle. You're doing 30 miles an hour. We just saw that Sea Dory 23 blasting across, and he's probably there. Him and his wife are probably having lunch in Steinhatchee right now. So, you know, think about those things. You know, when you are making your considerations, you might come across our channel, and we're oddballs out here. You know, if you haven't figured that out yet. We're doing the loop in an odd sort of way. We're not the only ones. There have been people who have done it on jet skis and 14-foot fishing boats with little Evinrude tiller, 9.9s and stuff. I mean, we are by no means like setting any world records here, but most of the boats out here are, trawlers and cabin cruisers and stuff like that. Sailboats, of course, and there would be a very few boats like you see on our channel, and there's just some considerations to consider. So hopefully these things are coming to my mind, and I'm being able to articulate them in a good enough way that you might be able to think about them for your trip, because we do have a lot of people watching our adventure who would want to do the loop, obviously. So, okay, guys, I'm gonna shut up here. We're gonna get back to it. These are lovely conditions. I could do this all day. I could even do this all night. Beautiful. And just in the spirit of gratitude, look at this. My solar panels. Got the batteries charged up to full. When that green light does that, it means it's off. It's dumping the excess charge because the batteries are full. Awesome. Here we are, 37 miles away from Steinhatchee. I'll show you on Navionics. And the conditions have improved, to say the least. And we're out here all by ourselves. And the sun's coming out. It's absolutely beautiful. I feel so blessed right now. This is freedom. I just feel so free right now. It's such a hard feeling to obtain. At least it is for me. And I just feel totally free. Okay, update guys. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We are 29 miles away from Steinhatchee, and the wave action has picked up again a little. Not as bad as it was a couple hours ago, but it's pretty much just doing what the forecast said it was going to do. Kind of just change directions, come and go, wax and wane. So still no big deal. Just a little bit more of a rougher ride. We'll get there. We are spotting our first crab pots. You see the ball right there? And there's a line of them going up. Here's another one. I'll see if I can zoom in on it. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there's this one right here. Do not hit those. I'm going to show you some more crab pots. I think you can see that. I'm kind of going through a string of them here. I'll show you. We are 20 miles out from Steinhatchee. And we're starting to see more crab pots. That's the thing I'm worried about when it gets dark. The white crab pot balls are easy to see, but I'm starting to see red and green ones, and they are not so easy to see when they're backlit by the sun. Getting one of these caught up in the prop would not be fun. Could possibly do some serious damage too. Do you see that long line of... Do you see all those? They just go it's like running the gauntlet out there. That's what I don't want wrapped up in my prop after dark. So I've kicked up the RPMs about as far as I want to, and I hope we get in before dark, or at least what I can still see. Just under 12 miles, and that's as the crow flies. It's probably a little farther because we're going to have to wind in. Sun's going down us. Can I talk you into staying up for another hour? To try to save time, I'm going to go between these two. You see those blues? I'm kind of going the bearing lines going between them. Those are supposedly at 3 feet. Now we'd go over the top of them as long as they are, but I'm going to try to go in between them and save us a little bit of time doing the approach up to the channel. About the last hour, maybe hour and 15 minutes left of sunlight here, and I just can't go any faster. This is going to be tricky because we're coming into a really narrow channel, and Wavey has had to wait for, it's going to be a 14-hour day for her holding that pee and that poop, so she's being really good. I'm going to get you off the boat the second we drop anchor, little dog. There's one right there. There's one right there. There's one up there. I know a lot of folks already know this, but for those that don't, you see right there, you see all those little pins, the red and the green, right? And that's the straight line. Well, you see how this is all 1 foot there. This is what the Gulf is like. It's, you got to go miles and miles out here to get any sort of depth. And they've had to dredge channels into these various places along the Gulf Coast here, like Steinhatchee and Cedar Key and Crystal River to a certain extent, you know, and others. So that's where we're, you know, that's what we're aiming for right now. As you can see, I'm getting a little off course because I'm not paying attention, but you know, we're over here, we're going down into there, and then we have to stay in that tight channel. So stay tuned. Okay, I'm going to try to show you real quick. So there is loads of crab pots out here. I'll just go in and go. There's one right there. You might be able to see it right in the middle of the screen. I'll put an arrow on it if I can. The white ones you can see pretty good, but some of them are dirty, some of them are green. The red ones you can see okay. My hope is to, probably got another half an hour. If I can get into the channel right there, there won't be any crab pots in the channel. You notice it's Dead Man Bay. So yeah, if I can just get to the mouth of the channel, I am, you know, I'm more or less there. I can just slowly stay within the cans and run on avionics like we did this morning when we left Dog Island. So I'm gonna keep paying attention here, guys, and I will just keep you posted. I gotta say, this is kind of stressful. I've driven in the dark before, just even on the Mississippi River. A couple of nights we had to do it. Yeah, getting wrapped up in one of these crab pots and being stuck out here in like a storm coming up. It doesn't matter if you're only a few miles offshore, it would be a big deal. So we're just going for this channel right now. We're getting close. It's going to be really tight. Getting close, getting close. No, Wavey, you stay in here, please. Hey guys, I'm coming back here really quick just to show you the last of the day. That's it. Sun going down on us. I think we're going to be okay. Let's just get this done. Well, thankfully they have some towers. You see that blinking red light there? That's telling us where to go into the channel, I believe. Okay, well, I officially cannot see the crab pot buoys. There's one, well, I see them when they come into, you can probably see it right there. So I'm right up on them before I can see them. I'm not sure if I run over the top of one, I'm just going to have to make a judgment call, but I just don't want to foul my prop. That's my number one concern right now. It is so nerve-wracking to not be able to see what's in front of you. I just gotta say. I needed another hour, maybe an hour and a half of daylight to really do this. But I would have left it 3:30 in the morning, and it would have been dark. I guess it would have been better to be in the dark on the other side, now that I think about it. Keep that in mind, guys, if you get stuck in this predicament. Okay, let me try to show you this. See the red blinking light? See the green blinking light? We are putting that green light on our port. That's what we're doing right now. We're coming in, putting the green on port. And once we're in the channel, then we can slow down and we can just crawl the last few miles into Steinhatchee. That's the plan. Okay, we are coming into the entrance. That's the first light right there. Set of lights. Number one. Can you see that? Number one, port side. We're doing the crawl. The crawl in the dark. It's stressful, but man, thank God for Navionics. I'm not even slowing down. Wavy, no, you're staying inside. You see the signs up there, right? Reflection. Watch. I turn off my floodlight. Oops. Where is it? See, they disappeared. Like, they do have some blinking lights once in a while, and I guess we could use those, but oh, my point is, put a big floodlight on the front of your boat, and the back. We got another boat going out. I think this might be a crab boat or something. I was blinding him. I didn't know it was a boat there. Yeah, it's a crab boat going out. Sorry about that, brother. They got a dog on board. Let's start seeing some of the town here. Get close. Okay, guys and gals, so I finally got my act together this morning. It's about, I don't know, 10:30, and we are going to, let me turn the phone around, the Beagle pre-wash on the eggs and the potatoes. We're going to launch the Pudgy Beagle. I gotta name it something Beagle. We're going to launch the Pudgy Beagle, and we are going to go up the Steinhatchee River about a mile, and, well, how about if I just surprise you? We're going on a gas run, but it's going to be a little bit of an adventure. Stay tuned. You want to go? You know what you got to do, right? And we're cooling the Beagle off. She's panting. She gets so hot. Take off your fur coat.